Now look at me, how much vanity you see? Yeah, I gotta stop smoking. Now look at me, how much vanity you see? You ain't paying for no pussy, but you pay for what she see. MOB, yes, as far as I can see. But these bras jacking me is validating my conceit. Obviously, show your bread, don't you wonder why she hit?
Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the Payoff Pitch presented by Fantasy Phenom. I'm Kyle. That is Mike, here to recap and break down tomorrow's slate, recap today's successful slate for the most part, and yeah, let's see, get back to the money again tomorrow.
Sir, we back. What's poppin', Phenoms? 15-game slate, dead and gone. Let's talk about it a little bit, and then let's move right along to this 11-game Saturday main. How'd you fare tonight, man?
So I did really well for the simple fact of leaving Max in my lineups. I still cashed, so I'm okay. I cashed in the late, and I missed cash in all my lines that had Max in it, but I cashed in all my lines that had Keuchel and Moore in it, so that was legit. But of course, it was the best part about it was I saw Max was scratched, right, and it was like 5 minutes before Kluber's game started, and I hated Kluber all day. Well, I didn't hate him, but I even said on the lock show, I was like, you know what, not enough K upside for me. I think Max has the matchup, etc., etc. Didn't want to go to Kluber, and so what I did in the main slate lineups is I went down. All the lineups I had Max, I just went down to Keuchel and kept it. And so I had Keuchel 100% today. But on the pick'ems where I had Max as my SP1, forgot to change Max out. I forgot that I even played him in the pick'ems. And so I looked at like 6 o'clock my time, and I see that Max is in there, and I was like, well, that sucks. And of course, I literally was the third person out of cash, with Max taking that 0. Probably had a lot to do with the fact that Kluber did so poorly. But, yeah, so that pick'em didn't go too well. But all the others, the main slate and the late slate went awesome. Matt Moore was fire today for his price. And then we talked about Keuchel, man, looking at here at the top 5. I was giving Mike shit because I saw that he had to post his boy, number 1. Mike was all over Erasmo. I was all over Matt Moore for the price on DK. Both ended up being awesome plays. Moore outscored Erasmo on FanDuel and vice versa on DK. So couldn't go wrong with either guy here. And then Keuchel, man. Keuchel was pretty good for his price. I mean, not only did he outscore Kluber, I mean, so did Matt Moore, so did Erasmo. So had a ton of good value plays today. Going to keep preaching this paying up for pitching. If they're not in a lockdown spot, it's really hard for me to do it. And talked about Kluber being in the low K matchup, and sure enough.
Yeah, that price for Kluber was, I mean, I highlighted it in the write-up. If you guys aren't in River looking at the write-ups, you got to get in there. I highlighted the Max versus Kluber situation. It was pretty obvious that there was no way I was going to pay that price for Kluber given the matchup, and I really thought Max had a shot today to put up some crazy points and really break the slate. So I had Max as well, and he kind of ruined it. I mean, that's a really expensive 0 to have in your lineup, man. So I did the same, and I pivoted to Keuchel, and it worked out. Him and Erasmo ended up being the top 2 scoring pitchers on DraftKings. So yeah. It was a pretty good night for pitching. All I really needed, I only played double ups because I've realized that on these big 14, 15 game slates, like I track everything, and I just realized that I don't play well. So I only played the double ups, and that's kind of all I really needed was to have some pitching and a couple of home runs in my lineup, which wasn't hard to do today. There was like 40, and got me to the cash line. So productive night, and I'll take it, man.
I feel it, man. Obviously, Manny Machado highlighting the slate, 50 DraftKings points, 70 FanDuel points, 3 home runs, capped by a walk-off grand slam. That
was a crazy game, man.
Dude, it really was. I think there was, 9 home runs in that game?
It was nuts, yeah.
It was ridiculous. Justin Upton.
8 home runs now for Manny Machado in August. What'd I say?
Yeah, he only needs 4 more left.
Got 4 more to go. So that bold call. We can revisit that later.
Yo, the guy I'm proud of, or I'm really happy that I was on 2 guys today, and they helped me. They were instrumental in me cashing. Justin Upton, highlighted him as a one-off. Just Tigers kill lefties at home. I did not have any Rich Hill, had zero interest in that play, and Upton, of course, delivered. And then Nicky Delmonico. Obviously, he burned everybody yesterday, and I thought he was in a nice bounce-back spot today. He stayed in Texas and played him everywhere. Every single line I had Nicky in it for the price savings. And sure enough, he delivered 2 home run game. I was a little early yesterday, called him in my kabooms. Didn't call him today, and then sure enough.
Same. Hey man, it's the process though. We're gonna be a day late on some guys. It's gonna happen, but double dong for Nicky, man. He is just coming on strong after some subpar minor league numbers. They bring him up. They bring Moncada up. They're bringing Giolito up. He's starting on Monday, so the White Sox are bringing people up. It's kind of exciting for if you're a fan and you got nothing to play for. It's much more exciting than some of these other teams. We'll talk about a little bit later that are just trash right now. So Upton, man, the thing about Upton is this second half, he's got to opt out. This is an opt-out year in his contract. He can opt out and get paid, man. And so I don't know that Detroit's going to be willing to pay him. I mean, he's got a solid contract where it's like, I don't know if it's going to hurt him by opting out, but this second half is showing that he's got a decision to make, man.
Yo, appreciate it, Christian. He says, yo, you guys have the best YouTube channel. Appreciate it, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yo, speaking of Upton and contracts, it reminded me of Justin Verlander. So let's talk real quick about that because the Cubs lost John Lester, and he may be done for the season.
Really? I saw a 10-day DL. Well, what's the injury?
Lat injury. There are reports that he may be done for the year. So Justin Verlander all of a sudden is back in trade talks. He was obviously in trade talks with the Cubs, or his name was mentioned with the Cubs, I should say, before the deadline. And now all of a sudden there's serious talks about that. I'm hearing reports of the Cubs' number 10 prospect. I can't remember his name right now. And the Cubs paying about 35% of his remaining contract. So the thing is, the Cubs or the Tigers are not going to get. They're either going to have to eat his salary if they want a prospect, or they're going to have to take a lesser player and give up or let someone else take on the contract. Right? The Cubs are reportedly looking at meeting them in the middle, taking part contract, giving up a decent prospect. So we'll see if that comes to fruition, but I'd expect those talks to heat up a little bit in the next couple days.
I think regardless, anybody that gets traded at this point is a contract. It's just to eat the contract at this point. I really don't see people that are making trades now. It's a very big sign of desperation, right?
Granderson today, that was news to the Dodgers.
Right, but that was just a straight up contract eat, man.
That's true.
They didn't give anything up. So now, if you're gonna trade somebody, you're really gonna have to take the money.
Yeah, and the Dodgers don't mind doing that. We've seen that in the past.
Right. And so that's what I'm saying with the Tigers. You know, if they make this trade, they know they're doing it because they know whoever takes them on is going to take the majority of that contract with it.
Yeah, Dodgers are fucking like they needed more depth.
I know, dude. And that's the thing about, people keep knocking at Sandy Alderson for the trades that he's been making, but he dealt 4 bats during a trade deadline where we saw no bats go anywhere. So he gave up all that contract space and got rid of 4 bats that, I think you can make a case that if you're rebuilding, those are probably the 4 contracts and the 4 bats you'd want to go. So
yeah,
you can say what you want about it, but I think if I'm a Mets fan, you might as well,
Yep. And speaking of one of those guys, Jay Bruce, man, he also he is heating up. Obviously, before yesterday in a home run slump, and now he has 3 in the last 2 games. Definitely a guy you're going to want to look out for. Maybe finding that comfort spot in Cleveland. We know he's been a streaky hitter all throughout his career, so something to look forward to or look at going forward.
Got a lot more protection in this lineup now, so.
Well, all right. Let's look at this 15-game slate tomorrow. We got a little bit of different breakdown on both sides. So FanDuel is going to do Toronto, Chicago, Los Angeles, Detroit, and St. Louis, Pittsburgh in there early, omitting the 3 o'clock Pacific time game. DraftKings is going to omit the Toronto-Chicago game and go ahead and start the early with the Los Angeles-Detroit game, St. Louis-Pittsburgh, and I believe Seattle and Tampa.
DK is going to have the Seattle-Tampa game.
So that is how the slates will break out. Obviously, if you want to play all the games, they are on the all day. That'll never change. But without further ado, Toronto and Chicago, I'd imagine on FanDuel, where this game is included, Chicago will be the chalk stack. They get Nick Tepish, who has not shown any signs of being any good at all.
No.
And you get Chicago that's obviously fighting for this playoff spot. Better team at home. So I don't see any reason why Chicago's not a place to stack. And then on the flip, me personally, won't have any Jose Quintana.
I honestly didn't look at this game. I didn't even know it was playing because I was looking at DraftKings. But I watched some of this game today while I was at work. And it seemed like it was, the Toronto bats came alive a little bit. But yeah, I agree with you. I think on FanDuel, just a price dependent. I think let's see.
I just can't justify playing Quintana right now. He's really not looking good. He's not missing
exactly.
bats. Toronto's hot.
That's that's kind of what I was getting at. Is like Toronto was still playing pretty well, even the bottom half of this order. Mm-hmm. So I don't think I want to play Quintana. And like you said, Tepish has not been good. So I could definitely see the Cubs on this early small slate.
Go. Ryu and Fulmer. As well as Ryu has played, it's going to be a similar situation for me here. I just can't play a lefty versus Detroit right now. Not only are they not striking out, at home versus lefties, a 14% K rate. They hold a WOBA of 391 and a hard contact rate of 44%. If Ryu goes out in balls, credit to him, but matchup is huge to me, and I just don't see a matchup to be had here.
I mean, yeah, we saw it with Rich Hill today. If anything, Rich Hill has been playing better than anybody on this Dodgers staff, and he got eaten alive by the Detroit bats. They just put it together. They don't, like you said, they don't strike out. They hit the ball hard. It's just not a matchup, especially like you said, lefties at home that I'm looking at. And then Fulmer, I don't know what's going on with him. Obviously, had the nerve issue in his elbow, came back. I think that game was in Texas. His first start back, was it?
Yeah,
I don't remember exactly.
That's not a great place to come back for your first start, but
no, it isn't. And then the Dodgers as your second start, so kind of think you can look at bats here, but I don't think you can stack here. I think it's the usual suspects 1 through 3 for Detroit, and then kind of the middle of the order here for Los Angeles. Even if Chris Taylor leads off again, I like him again.
Yeah, and if Miguel Cabrera plays again, that is a huge value play right now at first base.
It is
cheap on both sides, and on a 3-game slate, because this game is on both sides. I think he's going to be a value play if you need to pay up for pitching, which I don't think you have to on this slate. But
he's been pretty high owned in cash games of late because of that price.
Agree. St. Louis, Pittsburgh. I think Michael Wacha is my pitcher on FanDuel. Where again, this is the final game of that 3-game slate, so keep that in mind. Michael Wacha, I think, provides a safe floor versus Pittsburgh, who just can't hit righties. Now, today I think was an outlier. They're really not as good as they are versus righties. The team is built to hit lefties through and through. The problem with Wacha is Ks, and the matchup doesn't have Ks, right? Pittsburgh doesn't strike out, 14% at home versus righties over the last month. But you see the numbers there, 0.094 ISO and a 305 WOBA. So they're literally just getting singles and walks. Like, you're not seeing any extra bases. So I like Wacha for the floor, but again, upside is very, very limited. But on this slate, I really don't think there's a high upside pitcher. I would say Quintana probably is your highest upside, but I don't like that play against Toronto. So I'm going to go with the safe floor and Wacha and just get the bats.
I hear you. Yeah, I feel you. And if he was on the main slate, I don't think he'd be in question at his price. But yeah, he's going to be like a quality start machine. This kind of was a game stack today. St. Louis and Pittsburgh, and I wouldn't even.
Louis stays mad fucking
red hot.
right.
Yeah,
Dude, it's ridiculous.
top to bottom too.
You think who do you think wins the Central? Obviously, let's rediscuss this because before the All-Star break, I sat here and claimed Milwaukee. That obviously cooled off. So maybe if I say St. Louis, they'll cool off. But I don't know, man.
I think you're going to have to win it to make the playoffs. I really think those two teams out west are going to stay. I mean, as in Colorado and Arizona stay the wild card teams. I just think they're going to be playing spoiler. I still think the Cubs will take it home.
Okay. I would love to see St. Louis take this division. And
Same.
To me, St. Louis kind of reminds me of a lesser Patriots of baseball. They just are constantly in a playoff fight.
You know who's really good friends is Belichick and who's the longtime Cardinals manager?
La Russa?
La Russa, yeah.
Is he really?
Maybe there's something there. Yeah, they're good friends. Maybe there's something there.
It's ridiculous. I mean, everyone thought it was absolutely nuts when they let Pujols walk, right? And they didn't miss a beat.
Mm-mm.
And they're still, I mean, they keep their farm system intact. They're never the sexiest team in baseball, but they plenty provide, and they're always in the race.
They picked out Paul DeYoung, who has I think he's got a pre-med degree from. He was a walk-on at Northern Illinois or something like that, and now he's batting third. Yeah, so it's definitely a Patriots way where, like, whenever the Patriots have a first-round pick, they just sell them for, like, 14
other picks,
third-round picks.
I'm telling you, man. And then I think if I'm on FanDuel, again, I'm trying to decide between St. Louis. So Chicago is my number one stack, right? That's easy. I'm trying to decide between St. Louis and Detroit and Los Angeles, really. I probably will go Cub stack and then find a mixture of bats from the other three teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard to get off St. Louis right now, but I agree. I think the Cubs are in play. I just don't. If I'm doing full stack, there's no other lineup on this early slate that top to bottom I know is hitting well other than St. Louis.
I agree. And then if you're on DraftKings, the final game is Seattle and Tampa. And this is my favorite pitcher of the four early games, Ariel Miranda. So it's purely matchup based, but it's I shouldn't say purely. It's matchup based one. That obviously love the matchup here. But let me read some numbers. I actually just wrote it up in my post on River. So if you after the show, go ahead and read that. But Ariel Miranda, another guy in a great K matchup that's extremely underpriced on DraftKings. Over the last 30, he has a K rate that's just under Greinke's at 27.2%. He is the top of the slate in terms of swinging strike rate over the last 30 days on this slate at 14.6%. Now, the problem is his XFIP. Over that time, it's sitting at 4.79, and it's been increasing. Over the last 30, it's, like I said, 4.79, up to 6.4 his last 14, and 7.1 his last start. So, cause for concern there. But the matchup is way too good with the K upside. Tampa Bay at home versus lefties over the last month, .065 ISO and a 217 WOBA. No power, no on base, 26% K rate. Just way too much of a matchup spot for me, especially at his price, where you can load up on every single bat you want in this spot.
Dude, man, that's why I was on Erasmo Ramirez today. I looked at the matchup, and I looked how bad Tampa's been, and I put all their offensive ranks in the post, and they are bottom 5 in almost every offensive category over the last month and the last week. So, Erasmo Ramirez led them to 2 hits today. Really, Kiermaier coming back has been a lone bright spot for this lineup leading off. And Miranda hasn't been good either. Since the start of June, he has an ERA of 7.23. So, yeah, the strikeouts are there, and the numbers back it up. Hey, he strikes out 10 and gives up 5 runs. Fly ball pitcher, as we know. I generally don't like him on the road, but when you look at this slate, this 3-game slate on DraftKings, it allows you to pay up. And the matchup is by far the best.
Yeah. So I think Ariel Miranda is my lock for me on DraftKings on that slate. If he was on the FanDuel slate, I would play him over any other pitcher, but unfortunately he's not. We'll see if FanDuel makes another slate. They might, which is, I don't know, they might call it the afternoon slate with those 3 games and not the Toronto-Chicago game. If that's the case, then I fire Miranda up on FanDuel as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right, getting into the main, we have LA Baltimore again. Kevin Gausman, JC Ramirez. Gausman pitched a nice game against LA in his last start versus them. Obviously gave up a late home run that made his start look not as good. The strikeouts stay there. LA is hot though, especially on the road versus righties. Their best power split looking at 221, and this is a extreme park shift for them moving to Baltimore. We saw all the balls flying out today. Hellickson, who had a good start versus them in LA, did not have a good start versus them today. I'm torn on what to do. I definitely won't pitch Gausman, but I don't know if I want to play LA bats versus him.
Mm-hmm. LA bats in this ballpark. I mean, this team. Credit to this team and Mike Scioscia for staying in this. They are now in the playoff hunt. With Mike Trout being gone for almost a month and a half, man. Yeah. So, interesting. I think people might look at Gausman and see his last start in LA. It was okay. It wasn't terrible, but I think it could have been a lot better. I mentioned last time he pitched that start in LA, he had 20 swinging strikes and had a BABIP of 467. So got a bit unlucky in that start. But he's been very, very safe floor type of pitcher since the All-Star break. And I'm high on his stuff, so I think he does make my player pool tomorrow against LA. But yeah, I don't know that he's going to make my final pairing. That we will wait and see for that. But still, I mean, I agree. I think you can look straight back to this game. I think a lot of people will. Like you said, 9 home runs in this game in Camden Yards. Yep. It's just a great place to hit, man, especially in late August.
Feel it. And then I will say I do like some Baltimore bats versus Ramirez again. Baltimore stays hitting well.
Yep.
Over the last month at home versus right-handed pitching, a 20% home run per fly ball rate. Love that. And a 405 WOBA and 258 ISO. A ton of power and extra bases here for Baltimore. I'd expect the lefties especially to keep it going tomorrow.
Yeah, Ramirez doesn't have a lot of nasty stuff, man. He's a hard thrower. I don't know. I believe Baltimore got to him in that last start.
Can't remember off the top of my head.
Yep. Let's look. Yeah, they did get to him pretty bad. 6 earned runs over 7 innings.
There you go.
So I could see it total. I definitely could see it again, man. I like Baltimore bats. I don't even mind paying up here to Machado. His price went down a little bit. So
there you go. All right, so this is a game I actually am looking to pitch both guys against each other. Jose Berrios and Zach Greinke. Now, hear me out on Berrios, because, again, this is not going to be a numbers play here. I wrote him in the write-up as well. So Berrios, he's extremely price dependent, and this is DraftKings only, right? He's 6.6K. He's way too cheap for the upside. But he's deserving of the price the way he's pitched of late, right? Over the last 30, he holds an xFIP of 5.33, a K rate of only 16%, and a swinging strike rate of 7.7%. None of those are good. However, he gets a positive K matchup with the Diamondbacks on the road versus righties, holding a K rate of 26% and a WOBA of under 300. Also, Berrios at home this year, even with his poor starts, has good numbers. He holds a 24% K rate on the year at home, a 21% hard contact rate, and an xFIP under 4. So he gets a tough opponent, but their split on the road is not good. I can see some positive K upside here. We saw what the Houston pitchers were able to do strikeout-wise versus Arizona team. And then on the flip side, Zach Greinke, a better home pitcher than he is away, and he gets a tough matchup in Minnesota, but I think he is the pivot off of Chris Sale tomorrow with price savings. Although Steven Strasburg in that conversation as well, but coming off the DL, you guys know my feelings on that. So.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what happens, man. I think there's a significant price gap between Chris Sale and Zach Greinke tomorrow. I wonder if it's too much. I think people I don't know if that are not avid at looking at numbers will see matchup at Minnesota and at home versus the Yankees and think Greinke has the better matchup when I really don't think he does. I think against the Yankees right now is a better matchup than Minnesota. And then with Berrios, man, I like the price for his potential. I think it's still a GPP play, but 6,600 for the potential of Jose Berrios. We know what this guy's talent is. And like you said, Arizona, while they are heating up a little bit, still strike out a ton and haven't been playing as good as of late. So, yeah, I do like the price and the potential for Berrios.
Yeah, I think on DK the upside is there. FanDuel 8.1, and especially where you only pitch one guy. I just don't see it there. But on DraftKings SP2 option, talk about
when there's not a lot of SP2 options.
Agree, man. Gundeck,
and that's why.
And he says, "Sale's the reason I don't like this slate as a Yankees fan."
He's been dominating the Yankees this year, man. And he hasn't got. I think the win has eluded him against the Yankees. In 3 starts he's dominated, and he hasn't got a win yet. So that's kind of frustrating. Remember there was the Tanaka start, and then I think there was 2 against Severino where he got dueled.
He's literally been lining up against the Yankees. I think every series they've played.
They do it on purpose, obviously, but so the win has been eluding him. But that's the thing is with the lack of SB2 options on DraftKings, I'm curious to see if that like $3K difference in price is too much for people, and people just go down to Greinke. I could see it happening.
I could too. Which again makes Steven Strasburg a severely underowned option tomorrow. So
yeah, that's true. Risky, but
matchup. We'll get to there though.
We'll get to there.
Cincy, Atlanta, you got Robert Stevenson and Julio Teheran. Now, hear me out here. Julio Teheran makes my player pool. I have him as a severe risk play. Right? There's inherent risk anytime you pitch Julio and anytime you pitch someone in this ballpark. However, Cincinnati is a free swinging team, and on the road versus righties, they're not blowing anyone away. They're pretty mediocre, really, in all their stats. I don't see, no stat really sticks out to me besides home versus lefties and their power. But other than that, they're pretty consistent across the board, not blowing anyone away. I just think Teheran has pitched well in his last couple starts, especially with the K upside versus I would consider this a positive K matchup with the bats on Cincy. Minus Joey Votto and Duvall, I'm really not overly concerned with the play here. I list him as a possible SP2 option, but I don't know if he makes my final player pool. But I think it just has to be talked about with the K upside. We talk about Berrios' K upside. I think Julio Teheran has similar upside with strikeouts.
I don't know, man. Again, my rule about this ballpark, and then he had one good start. That's really it. He's given up 28 home runs this year, 15 at home. He's got a over 7 ERA in this ballpark. So I don't know. I just feel like Cincinnati's been hot enough where I don't want to go after them, man. I feel like they've got some power numbers. Cozart, Suarez, Votto are all red hot right now. So
yeah, they are a top 15 team. So top half of the league in terms of where they're sitting WOBA over the last week and over the last 14. So again, inherent risk, but it deserves discussion as an SP2 option, in my opinion.
There are a lack of those, for sure. So if you're paying up to Sale, you really got to roll the dice somewhere.
And then another one, I don't think I pitch Robert Stevenson tomorrow, but he is also very, very cheap. And he gets an Atlanta team that stays cold. So
yeah,
he's 5'6".
Pizza Boy was on the slide today.
Yeah, he's 5'6" and 5'5" on DraftKings and FanDuel, respectively. And if you want to look at splits, Atlanta at home versus righties right now is their highest K split at 23%. So not a team that strikes out a ton, but in this matchup they have Stevenson has a 20% K rate on the year, 24 in his last couple starts. So maybe he becomes the SP2 option in this game if you want to fade Teheran and just pay all the way down.
Problem with it is that he's been on the DL. I think he's been on and off the DL for a while. Shoulder injury, it says, looking, his last start came on August the 2nd. He has made one appearance since then out of the bullpen, but Yeah, I don't know, man. I think I'd rather roll the dice with a talent like Barrios than
I agree.
have to deal with the Stevenson play.
I agree.
You know, it's rough.
Ho-Ho's excited to hear my take on CC.
Uh-oh.
We'll get there. We're almost there, Ho-Ho. The anticipation is building.
We should just record a Ho-Ho segment on the Yankees starting pitcher and then play it every time it comes up.
We really should. This dude, I've never. I bet you Ho-Ho's probably gonna play Yankee bats versus Boston. He'll find someone that has like a hit versus Sale and like 20 plate appearances. He'll be like, look, he has a hit versus him.
Ho-Ho's the kind of guy that lives for epic rain delays, so he can move down to the front and hackle the people in the on deck circle. That's what I get out of you, Chris, man.
The fan or the payoff pitch, the Ho-Ho roast hour.
Where are we at? What game are we even on right now?
We got Miami and New York with two elite options in Vance Worley and Rafael Montero. Sarcasm.
Oh boy.
Alert. Sarcasm alert.
God, man.
Worley's actually pitched respectively though. He hasn't been getting blown up in any of his starts, and he gets the Mets, who don't really have much of a team at this point.
No, man. Just no. I think I'd rather, again, if I'm really going down here, there's a couple of guys that I think are talented. I think Montero is a guy that has good stuff, right?
Yep.
He hasn't shown it this year, but he's had good stuff in the minors, and he's got great movement on a fastball, high 90s. So I think if I'm rolling dice, I want it to be on guys like Barrios or Montero, young guys with good stuff. Maybe even Graveman, but he gets Houston, so probably not. But the rest of these guys, man, no thanks. Vance Worley, even though the Mets, like we've said, they have been struggling big time. I still don't know.
I like Miami versus Montero. A couple of bats. I like Stanton and Yelich, 2-man. But I'll probably end up fading this entire game, to be honest with you. Although,
Same.
On the flip, this could end up being a game stack. So, game could go either way.
And even the bottom of the order, Miami players have been playing pretty well, and Rojas and Dietrich.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think there's maybe some value there. But
I agree. Possibly.
Miami stack's always sneaky. We always talk about it.
Always low on too. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all right. We got the glorious return of CC Sabathia and Chris Sale. I think Chris Sale, there's not much to say about him. His numbers are elite up and down the board. There's talks about him winning the MVP. That's how good he's been on the season. He has an average against him of under 200. He has a WOBA against him of 236. K rate of 36.5%. XFIP of 2.6. Any way you slice it, the dude's been fantastic this year. And he gets a Yankees team that is okay right now. I think this division's slipping away from them a little bit. I think you're going to see Boston take this division. No bias actually here. I just think Boston probably is the better team, and they have the better pitching staff, which I think comes down to, or when it comes down to playoffs, I think pitching is what gets you, especially late in the year. I think pitching is what puts you over the edge.
Yeah, I think they are a little bit better defensively. I think they have a little bit more power top to bottom, and I think they have a slightly better. I give it a wash to the bullpen. I think they both have pretty good bullpens. Mm-hmm. But when you talk about the front part, yeah, seriously, he got put in the doghouse today, man. He really did by Girardi. He didn't back up a play at home plate, and Girardi came out and lit him up. But yeah, I don't know. See, both these guys have pitched well against the opponents. Sabathia has not given up a run against Boston in 14 innings pitched this year. That is pretty impressive.
I'm going to go out on a limb.
Just not many pitchers in baseball that can say they've done that.
Super bold call here. Boston scores a run versus CC tomorrow.
Super bold call, huh? Yeah, so Sabathia, I don't know, man. It's his the knee that has just bothered him for the last 3 years that was aggravated, had some inflammation in it. They had to drain it, and so he's coming back, I think, sooner than a lot of people expected. That to me is a cause for concern. This Boston lineup, how they've been playing lately, is a cause for concern. And then Chris Sale, like I said, 3 starts against the Yankees, he's dominated. He still doesn't have a win. So if the planets are aligning, or in any sort of regression monster, whatever you want to call it, I feel like he's due for a win against the Yankees for how well he's pitched. So definitely one of those guys like Max. Again, like I said, as I was mentioning today, like I think he can go out. Max can go out and break the slate. I don't know that Sale can do that against the Yankees, but then you look at the rest of the pitchers on the slate, and I don't know, man. I think he could be worth the price. And again, I don't think the ownership's going to be there like it was going to be there for Max today.
I like a Sale and Berrios pairing a lot. I think that's where I was looking initially.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see if I stay there, but Sale's just been too good. And what about Devers for Boston, man? I think I got to eat a little crow here. We talked about this being a rush-up call. It kind of seemed desperate at the time, but he has just been fantastic since coming up. And he's shown
more power at the major league level than he did in the minors. He got rushed through the system, but we've seen a lot of good players do that. So yeah, I agree. Highly touted prospect, definitely there to stay. Only 20 years old with some extremely quick bat speed. So I agree. The thing is about the Sale. Yeah, he is. The thing about the Sale Berrios call is it's probably going to require at least three players under 3K in your lineup. I'm looking at it now. You're left with $3,600 a player on DraftKings. So
that's doable.
To me, again, you have to punt 3 guys. So if there's 3 guys that I feel comfortable about punching, by all means, I'm going to do it. We see value take off every day. But I'm not going to force people in my lineup,
I agree. It has to fit.
Right.
We got Oakland, Houston. So I'm going to go on the record and just say Houston can go fuck themselves. I was all over them today. I was like, yo, this is going to be a low and stack. They were. I was like, this stack's going to be lit. They weren't. Besides Altuve and Bregman with those back-to-back home runs, which I did have, so they salvaged it. But fuck Houston right now. They couldn't even get to Sean Manaea.
I didn't play early. I was at work. Thank God. I would have lost money probably too.
Fuck, man.
Sean Manaea is another guy that hadn't been playing well. Kind of like Berrios, man. I feel like they're similar. They both got elite curveballs. So.
Yeah, Houston just pissing me off. But I'm not attacking Graveman tomorrow, so Houston will probably go off in spite of me. But I will not pitch him against Houston. I don't think there's enough upside here for his price. And then Colin McHugh is an interesting play against Oakland, who we know is free swinging. But they hit righties better than lefties, at least on the road. So I don't know. High fly ball pitcher, though. That worries me against this team. So I probably won't pitch him, but there's K upside.
For McHugh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like McHugh. I think he makes my player pool against Oakland. I think momentum with how he's pitching as well as matchup lineup here for McHugh. He's coming off a pretty good start. The thing about him is, again, length. We don't see length out of him. Houston doesn't tend to give their pitchers length.
They should be. Their fucking bullpen's ass right now.
I know, but I don't know. I think Oakland could be a team where we see it. Maybe, hopefully. And then with Graveman, we're talking about a guy that has built his pitch count back up. This will be his 4th start back off the DL, a lengthy DL stint. So his pitch count is back up, and he's coming off probably one of his best starts of the year. So I don't know that I want to attack him. But at the same time, I think maybe he's in play. Nah, I don't know that I could play him against Houston in Houston, but
don't do it.
I wouldn't be surprised. Let's put it that way.
Don't do it. Trevor Bauer and Jason Vargas. Bauer is pitching well right now, but again, K upside is not here with Kansas City. I don't stack Kansas City against Bauer, but I just can't pitch him. as well. I mean, Kluber couldn't even get the strikeouts, so not going to throw Bauer. Jason Vargas, probably not going to go there either. Cleveland's hitting really well right now. Encarnacion stays hot. Jason Kipnis is mad hot right now. Francisco Lindor swinging the bat okay. So Austin Jackson also swinging a really nice bat.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I don't know that I want to go. Bauer is too much on DraftKings. 9,800 is too much for Bauer. I know he's a streaky guy. But still, man, I don't know that how much I can expect a fifth straight good start from Trevor Bauer. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's something coming for him. Kansas City has been on a tear.
Yep.
And so I'm not paying $9,800 for Trevor Bauer. Now, Jason Vargas has limited Cleveland. We always talk about Cleveland's worst versus lefties. And in 3 starts versus Cleveland this year, he's only allowed 2 earned runs total, and that's in 20 innings pitched. So it's not a strikeout upside matchup. Vargas hasn't been striking anybody out as of late. But at 7,300, I think you can make worse decisions.
Yep. Chicago, Texas. Surprise, surprise. I'll go back to Texas today. They let me down, but they get Derek Holland, who's pitching to an xFIP of almost 7 in his last 3 starts, with a hard contact rate of 40%. And Texas is not as good versus lefties, but they're still at home where they are significantly better. Mike Napoli, elite play tomorrow for me. Elvis Andrus, Adrian Beltre. So I'm definitely going to attack there. And then I see some Chicago bats against Martin Perez as well here. He's not been pitching well of late. Love Abreu tomorrow. I think that might be... Honestly, I'm torn between Abreu and Napoli right now. I'd probably go Abreu. He's a better road hitter than he is at home. And he's in Texas versus Perez. So that might be a play. Moncada swinging a really nice bat right now. Obviously, El Garcia, if he's in the lineup, I could go there, but I doubt he is with that wrist injury. So I think this could be game stack all around.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I generally don't like to stack against Martin Perez. I mean, high ground ball pitcher, but he has been giving up a ton of hits as of late. He's got a whip that's in the top 10 in the league at this point, and for that reason, I think there's definitely some Chicago White Sox bats that have been hot and are in play, namely Tim Anderson, Nicky Delmonico, Jose Abreu, and then Tex.
I have to see Nicky's stats versus lefties, because that's interesting. I mean, he's swinging a nice bat, but I don't know what his splits. Obviously, limited sample size.
If his price stays where it's at, I don't see why he wouldn't decide to play it against Perez. And then Texas, I kind of like the righties better than the lefties even. So as of late, they seem so much more consistent. Obviously, you're paying up for it with Andrus and Beltre, namely. Obviously, Napoli hit a home run today, but he's kind of home run or bust at this point. And then Chirinos, depending on price, man, he was a little too high priced today for me. But let's see where he's at.
I mean, he's versus a lefty. He was 2,900 today, if I'm not mistaken.
He's another guy that's home run or nothing, though. He's 3,700.
So good.
Yeah. So.
We got Coors again. Brandon Woodruff. He's been okay. I mean, he's limited damage, but he hasn't been fantastic. He does have a really nice sinker. It's a mid-90s sinker, but balls just don't sink or drop like they normally do in Coors, and so that concerns me. Colorado, at home they're unmatchable. So look, but I know they're not facing a lefty, but look at this split, Mike. At home versus lefties in the last 30 days, obviously limited sample size, they have a home run per fly ball rate of almost 35%.
Who? Colorado?
Colorado at home versus lefties.
I mean, put it in the air. That's all you need to do in Colorado, man.
Did you see that Domingo Santana home run today?
I didn't see it.
It literally looked off the bat like it was a pop-up, and it just kept carrying. Straight out of Coors.
Late August, that's what you're talking about. In Coors, definitely going to see some more runs, I think, today. Chad Bettis, Brandon Woodruff,
Yeah, neither's elite. I love Chad.
Reasonable at best.
Yeah, I love Chad Bettis and his narrative last start, but that narrative has now died. So, he got that first start out of the way. I expect Milwaukee, who's been a top 3 team in WOBA last 7 days, top 10 in last 14, so trending in the right direction. And now they're in Coors. I could see some Shaw, some Thames, some Neil Walker. So a lot of guys that are in play for me here.
I think Orlando Arcia might be winning the second half surprise of the year. Pretty much like
a nice bat, and he's always cheap.
Yep. It was Eric Sogar for the first half, and now it's Orlando Arcia for this team. So I like him. Braun, Shaw. If Santana continues to hit, I think he's in play. Pena's been up and down as of late, and then Colorado. Colorado is seemingly up and down as a team. They either go out and score 10 runs, or they don't score at all. So if you want to risk it on that, I think you definitely can against a guy like Brandon Woodruff.
I think they're worthy of it.
I want to say Woodruff is a solid prospect, actually.
He is. Clinton's talked very highly of him, but again, it's in Coors, and the problem is you just don't get the same break on balls in Coors that you do elsewhere.
Anyway.
On to the last 2 games of the night. San Francisco is just absolutely destroying Philly. You want to talk about frustrating? I'm jumping ahead here real quick, I know. But rant. I've been wanting San Francisco to blow this fucking team up for like the entire year because we've been so bad. And now they're making it extremely hard to do so because all of a sudden this team wants to score runs and play well. And we have zero shot of anything. Like, we're not even close to playoff contention. I think the Dodgers have more wins than we are out of first place. Like, I think that's how far back we are right now. And we're not making the wild card, but yet this team is all of a sudden playing respectably. And if it keeps them from blowing this team up, it's going to piss me off. Because
some of the Giants?
Yeah. Denard Span's
There's
old.
38 games out of first place.
There you go.
I don't think they're making the playoffs, man.
No, not even
Sorry.
close. Trust me, I know.
The Dodgers somehow continue to find ways to win, even when Rich Hill sucks.
Dodgers are unreal. But, again, I have a bad gut feeling about the Giants. They are extremely loyal to their players, and I have a bad feeling that they're going to keep this team together because they see how they're doing the second half. And they're going to go into next year, and keep this team. And we're going to have an old Denard Span, old Hunter Pence.
Well, what they need, they're just going to be, they're reluctant to do what the Mets are doing, is what it is. They're not going to be able to, they have to sell off their players for nothing because the contracts that they're tied into aren't reasonable for rebuilding. Okay. They have, and I think most teams would be reluctant to do such, especially when the Giants are like, right, not so far removed from winning it all. So, I don't see them. I agree. I don't think they're going to do what they're doing. I think, Posey, Crawford, Pence are going to stay there.
I love Crawford. Crawford's legit. I love Joe Panic if his ass can ever stay healthy and stop getting fucking concussions. I love Brandon Belt. Buster Posey, obviously. But the rest of them can go. Bumgarner, obviously got to keep him, but his ass needs to do something in this offseason, get back to track. Matt Moore, get rid of his ass and his overpaid contract. Johnny Cueto, get him out of there.
So two guys that are too big of a contract.
Yeah.
Man, dude. So I was tuned in and watching the end of the Phillies game today, and I've been watching a lot of these Phillies on the West Coast, and they're currently on a 6-game losing streak now. And we're talking teams that include San Diego and the Giants. I know the Phillies aren't good, and they're without Odubel Herrera and Aaron Altair right now, but they are just really bad right now, man. And the announcers, the post-game people, everyone was very just annoyed at their lack of presence overall. They just were making silly defensive mistakes. We're talking about Matt Moore, who has an ERA of 6.72 or something similar since the All-Star break. A guy like Clayton Richard goes out and shuts them out. This team is defeated. This team is defeated right now.
I knew this was coming. Had to take any opportunity to shit on a Giants player that pitched well. Matt Moore goes out and does his thing, and it's like, nah, the Phillies are bad. Like, we can't give credit to a Giant.
It was a shitload of pop-ups, man. I'm telling you, I was watching the game.
Same.
I didn't see anything from Matt Moore today. I don't know if you watched and saw some electric stuff, but I really didn't. I just feel like there was a lot of bat slamming and helmet throwing from the Phillies side. And when your starting pitcher goes out and gives up a crooked number in the first inning, just kind of sets your team up for a defeatist attitude. And the Phillies are that's kind of where they're at right now. And I just think, for that reason, anybody really against them, pitching against them is in play.
I was going to say, so with that said, are you considering the great Ty Block?
No, I mean, yeah, but I don't call him the great Ty Block, but I mean, the only guy that
he's too high priced for me. 71 on DraftKings, no way I'm playing him on FanDuel at 77 with his limited upside. 71, I guess you could put him in Barrios' class with a safer floor, but I don't know, price dependent. I don't see it there.
I don't know, name a guy in the Phillies lineup that scares you. And the only guy I can name is probably Nick Williams at this point, and he is a lefty, and he doesn't hit lefties very well.
Gunter's made a good point. He said, Ty Block is Clayton Richard, and Clayton Richard just went complete game shutout. That's
what I'm saying. I'm telling you, there's a narrative beyond here, man, and it just looked really bad.
Yeah.
It has looked really bad for this whole road trip. So, and we see it, man. We've seen it many, many times before. And teams struggle. They struggle as a team. Franco's having a terrible year. They really need to bring up Scott Kingery, but he's not on the 40-man, so they probably won't do it. I don't know. I definitely think Ty Block is in play.
And then, last but not least, we got Steven Strasburg versus Travis Wood. That narrative died after that first Pittsburgh start. He's back to the Travis Wood we expected.
Yeah.
I don't know that I play Washington again. Maybe Rendon, maybe Zimmerman, but I don't know that I stack him here. Actually, Howie Kendrick. You got to play Howie Kendrick right now. Stealing bags, hitting home runs. He's found something, at least on this recent stretch. So I could see a 3-man from Washington. And then, as I mentioned earlier, Steven Strasburg, I think, is going to be extremely low owned tomorrow. And the only reason I'm considering him is for that and the matchup, right? I mean, same reason I thought Max would be the highest scoring pitcher on today's slate is the same reason I think Strasburg is in line for a good start tomorrow. I haven't heard anything about a pitch count, so should be good there. I'll do some more searching, and if I find anything, I'll keep you updated. But as long as there is no pitch count, I like it. This dude would be an ace on 25 other teams. So I think the matchup is there. His season numbers are there. It's just a matter of how he's going to pitch and whether he's rusty off this DL.
Strasburg in his rehab start made it through 5 innings and only pitched 66 pitches. I could see with the added bullpen arms, if they are winning this game, that there's no reason for them to stretch him out. Obviously, it's an elbow injury. To me, it comes with limited upside because if he does go out and have a good start and the bats are behind him, I don't see them stretching him if they don't need to.
Yep.
Now, with the bats, man, against a lefty, correct me if I'm wrong, but they've been going Kendrick then Defoe, and I like that 2-man stack, especially on FanDuel where Kendrick comes in at 20.
He's so
what is it, 2,900?
FanDuel just doesn't update pricing.
All
year.
And the outpitch against the Padres has been the slider. If you look at all pitch values on FanGraphs over the course of any sample, the Padres are either last or second to last against that pitch, and that's kind of why I really liked Scherzer today because he's got the best his slider is not only the best in the league, but it's also the best pitch of any pitch according to pitch value. So I think if it's part of the
problem is that slider with the elbow. That slider puts a ton of stress on the elbow.
So I don't know if that's going to be a super big part of the game plan. And for that, I don't know. I'm on a wait and see approach with Strasburg. I think if you really want to get risky and you're really cool with the bats you got, and why not in tournaments? But I wouldn't recommend it.
I don't recommend it either. You guys know my strategy on paying for pitching or playing a pitcher coming off the DL. But again, it's going to be a low-owned play. We know the upside is there. But honestly, if Sale wasn't on the slate and we were comparing Greinke and Strasburg, I'd have a stronger argument for playing Strasburg. But I just can't with Greinke. I'm sorry, with Sale.
Yeah, Sale's expensive, man.
So, but all right, that is where we are at. Appreciate all you guys tuning in as always. Hopefully, it was a successful day for all of you. I just lost my train of thought completely. What the hell?
Hey, check back tomorrow. Obviously, guys, we will be diving into our plays and giving all the subscribers in depth kind of where we're at as far as our pitchers and our bats, our player pools, so to speak.
Yep.
I will be going for 4 slates in a row on guessing the top pairing of pitching on DraftKings.
Mike's
so
got
hoping to
pitching
keep
nailed
that
down right now.
hoping to keep that streak alive. And keep up the feedback. We're going to get a lot of good feedback about the posts, a lot of good feedback about the shows. We got NFL coming up. There's a lot of buzz amongst the community. I can sense it. So bring up what you guys want to see from us with that, because we are in more than prep talks about what we're going to be doing for the upcoming NFL season. If you like the show, if you like us, hit us up. Check out that free trial and what we got to give.
Yes, sir. And speaking of NFL, the last step in the sheets, at least for right now, I have an optimizer built on Google Sheets. I figured out their coding. And so I have the optimizer built in with the projections. The next step is just figuring out how I allow everyone to use it, because currently it's locked to me. So that is the next step to figure out. But with the projections, I have the optimizer built. It is up and ready. If you actually go to the sheets, you'll see at the very last page, DK Optimizer. You'll see that I built one in, and it's just a matter of letting you guys access it. So working on that, getting that all set up, but we have it set up, and so that'll make things easier, because now you don't have to have a PC on Excel using it. It's just a matter of using a computer overall, whether it's Apple or PC. So,
as always, if you need any troubleshooting, Kyle's the guy to go through with the Excel data. And there's a whole lot to look and dive into. So if you're into stats and you love baseball, you got to get on those sheets, and you're trying to make some extra bankroll to lead into football season. Maybe or just depositing for the first time, and you want to get that deposit bonus. Get some because there is NFL stuff going on. Like I said, we got the free rolls. If you guys want to try it out, I definitely recommend playing our free rolls during preseason football if you've never played the NFL on DFS, just to get used to it.
Yeah, this pick'em is going to be awesome for NFL too.
Yeah, definitely excited about that. So hit us up. Let us know what you guys think, what you guys want to see from us. And again, thanks for tuning in, guys. We love doing this for you.
Awesome. So, all right, guys, we'll have a wonderful night or morning, and we will see you guys tomorrow. I will be back on a lock show. Mike will be saving lives and shit.
Yes, sir. Hopefully it won't be raining like it did all day today.
Well, I hope so for your case, man. It's been hot AF over here.
Yeah, so